January 20th, 2026. Mark this date. Because on this day, the Supreme Court will hear oral arguments in a case that could rewrite concealed carry laws across every state in America.
If you live in Hawaii, California, New York, New Jersey, Maryland,
or any state that makes carrying your legally owned firearm nearly impossible. What happens in this courtroom will determine whether you have real gun rights or just a worthless permit. The case is called Wolford v. Lopez. And it's about something gun owners are calling the vampire rule, a law that says you can't carry your gun into a NY business, restaurant, or store unless the owner gives you express permission first. Like a vampire can't enter without permission. Neither can your firearm. But here's what changes everything. The Trump administration's Department of Justice just filed a 43-page brief calling this law blatantly unconstitutional. 26 states have lined up supporting gun owners. And the Supreme Court is ready to settle this once and for all. Let me show you exactly what's at stake and why this ruling will spark changes to firearm laws nationwide. After the Supreme Court's 2022 struck down may issue concealed carry systems. States like Hawaii had to start issuing to law-abiding citizens. They couldn't deny you anymore. But Hawaii, along with California, New York, New Jersey, and Maryland, wasn't going to let that stop them. So they came up with a new strategy. Make it illegal to actually use your permit anywhere. Here's how Hawaii's. Vampire rule works. You get your concealed carry permit. Background check passed. Training completed. You're legal. But the moment you try to carry your gun into a gas station, grocery store, restaurant, or coffee shop, you're committing a crime, a felony, punishable by up to 1 year in prison. Unless, here's the catch, the property owner gives you unambiguous written or verbal authorization, or posts clear and conspicuous signage saying guns are allowed. Think about that. You stop for gas with your gun in your car. Think about that. If the gas you stop for gas, station owner hasn't explicitly told you. If the gas station owner hasn't bring your gun here, you just committed a crime. Bring your gun here. Same for every store, every restaurant. Same for every store, every business, every restaurant. According to court documents, this law bans firearms on 96.4% of publicly accessible land in Maui County. That's not 96.4%. Christopher Wolford, a licensed concealed carry holder, challenged this law. He said, "You've given me a permit, but you've made it completely useless. I can't carry anywhere I actually need to carry, like the places I go in my daily life," and he sued. Wolford v. Lopez was born. Now here's why the Supreme Court had to take this case. The federal courts can't agree on whether these laws are constitutional. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals covering Hawaii, California, and the West Coast upheld Hawaii's vampire rule. They said, this is fine, states can do this. But the Second Circuit Court of Appeals covering New York and the Northeast struck down New Jersey's nearly identical law. They said, this violates the Second Amendment. Private property owners decide who can enter, not the government. The Third Circuit just ruled in October 2025 in Coons v. Attorney General New Jersey, mostly against these restrictions. So you have different circuits reaching different conclusions. That's called a circuit split. And when there's a circuit split on a major constitutional issue, the Supreme Court steps in to resolve it. On October 3rd, 2025, the Supreme Court granted certiorari in Wolford v. Lopez. Translation: we're taking this case. Oral arguments are scheduled for January 20th, 2026. Decision expected June or July 2026. The question the court will answer: whether Hawaii may presumptively prohibit the carry of handguns by licensed concealed carry permit holders on private property open to the public, unless the property owner affirmatively gives express permission. That's legalese for. Can states flip the default rule and make carrying guns illegal everywhere unless you get permission first? Now here's where things get massive. The Trump administration's Department of Justice filed an amicus brief of a friend of the court document arguing that Hawaii's law is unconstitutional. Attorney General Pam Bondi wrote, Hawaii's law plainly violates the Second Amendment. The DOJ's 43-page brief absolutely destroys Hawaii's arguments. Let me give you the key points. Point number 1. Hawaii's law was designed to suppress carry. The DOJ argues that Hawaii didn't pass this law to protect property rights. They passed it to make concealed carry impossible. Hawaii designed its novel affirmative consent rule to inhibit the exercise of the right to bear arms. The brief states Hawaii already has trespass laws. Property owners can already kick people out for any reason, including carrying guns. They can post no gun signs, but Hawaii flipped the default. Now everywhere is off limits unless you get permission. Point number 2. The law discriminates against gun owners. The DOJ brief points out that Hawaii's law singles out the carrying of firearms for discriminatory treatment. You don't need permission to bring in bicycles, roller skates, muddy shoes, or dripping umbrellas. But guns? Special restriction. Point number 3. The law effectively nullifies carry licenses. Hawaii's law is so broad that it effectively nullifies licenses. What's the point of a permit if you can't use it anywhere? The brief explains public carry licensees who stop for gas with a pistol in the glove compartment risk a year in prison if they fail to obtain the compartment risk a year in prison if they fail to obtain the gas station owner's unambiguous consent. The same goes for licensees who run errands at grocery stores, dine at restaurants, or stop to buy coffee, dine at restaurants, or stop to buy coffee. No historical precedent. Point number 4. No historical precedent under Brune. Gun restrictions must have historical precedent dating back to Hawaii tried to cite two old laws. Hawaii tried to cite two old laws, hunting law, a 1771 New Jersey hunting law, and an 1865 Louisiana law. But as Judge Lawrence Van Dyke pointed out in his dissent, the 1771 law was an anti-poaching and anti-trespassing ordinance, and the 1865 nothing to do with general Louisiana carry. Law was one of the 1865 black codes that sought to deprive African Americans of their black rights. Codes that the DOJ concludes African Americans of their rights. Brune by banning public carry through indirect means. States cannot evade Brune by banning public carry through indirect means. And now here's the bombshell: the DOJ has asked the Supreme Court for permission to argue alongside gun owners. Oral arguments on January 20th. The federal government will be standing in the Supreme Court arguing against state gun restrictions. The federal government will be standing in the Supreme Court arguing against the state gun restrictions. But it's not just the Trump DOJ. That's unprecedented support. Majority of American states have filed an amicus brief supporting gun owners against Hawaii. Majority. These states argue. American states just a few years ago an amicus brief supporting gun owners against Hawaii. These states argue. Just a few years ago, this court reminded lower courts that the right to keep and bear arms is not a second-class right subject to an courts across the country continue to defer to legislative judgments regarding firearms regulations. Courts across the country. Brune's declaration to defer to legislative judgments regarding firearms regulations is not the deference. Despite Brune's declaration, the Second Amendment demands deference to legislative interest balancing is not the deference that the Second Amendment demands. Presuming that public carry was permissible, Hawaii has completely flipped the public carry is now rather than presuming that public carry was permissible unless expressly forbidden. The states call this public carry is now presumptively forbidden in Hawaii. Child's game of mother may I. You have the states call this a charade and a child's game of mother may I. You have to ask permission to exercise a constitutional right. The brief urges the Supreme Court to reverse the Ninth Circuit's decision on screen and strike down Hawaii's law. What's at stake nationwide? So why does this matter beyond Hawaii? On screen, because 5 states have showing affected states rule statistics. Hawaii. So why does this matter beyond Hawaii? California. Because 5 states have similar vampire raw New York laws. Hawaii, California, New York, New Jersey, Maryland. If the Supreme Court strikes down Hawaii's law, if the Supreme Court strikes down Hawaii's law, all of these laws instantly. But it goes deeper than that. This case will provide guidance on what counts as a sensitive place where guns can be banned. After Brune, states went crazy designating almost everywhere as sensitive parks, beaches, bars, restaurants, public transit, anywhere children might gather. They were trying to make carry impossible without technically denying permits. Courts are pushing back. The Second Circuit struck down New York's overreach. The Third Circuit just limited New Jersey's restrictions. Now the Supreme Court will set the national standard. What? Gun owners could win. Default rule becomes carry. Default rule becomes
allowed unless
carry
property
allowed
owner
unless
posts
property
no
owner
guns.
posts
States
no
can't
guns.
flip presumption.
And make everything off limits. Sensitive places narrowly defined to genuinely. Sensitive locations concealed carry permits actually mean something what gun control states could try. If they lose, they'll try other workarounds, more training requirements, fees. Delays redefine sensitive places more carefully continue fighting in lower courts. All of this goes back to the Supreme Court's 2022 decision in New York. State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Brune. Pistol Association v. Brune.
Thomas wrote for
Justice
the 6-3
Clarence Thomas
majority.
wrote for the 6-3
Gun
majority.
restrictions must
Gun
be
restrictions must be consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. Can you find a historical analog, a similar law from the 1700s
Can you find a historical
or 1800s
analog,
that
a similar law from the 1700s or 1800s that
the law is
justifies your modern
unconstitutional?
restriction?
Hawaii tried. They cited that 1771 New Jersey law and 1865 New Jersey
but
law
those don't hold up.
1865
The 1771 law was about
but
hunting.
those don't hold up.
Trespass not general.
Carry in public places. The 1865 law was a racist black code designed to disarm freed slaves. After the Civil War, neither supports Hawaii's blanket ban on carrying in private businesses open to the public. The Ninth Circuit said, close. Enough. The Second and Third Circuit said,
The Second and Third
Circuit said,
Close.
not even.
The Supreme
Close.
Court
will decide who's right.
and that decision will apply nationwide.
What
should gun owners do right now?
Action number 1. Watch
Action
January
number
2
1.
OTH.
Watch January
2026
2
oral
OTH
arguments will be
2026
held that day. Audio will be posted on the Supreme Court's website.
Audio will be posted on
Listen
the
to
Supreme
it.
Court's website.
Pay attention to what the justices ask. Their questions
Pay
reveal
attention
how
to
they're
what
thinking.
the justices
Action
ask.
number 2.
Their
Expect
questions
decision,
reveal
June,
how they're
July
thinking.
22/6.
Action number
Supreme.
2.
Court
traditionally
Expect
releases
decision,
controversial
June,
decisions
July
at the end of their
2026.
term.
The Supreme
will
Court
likely be
traditionally
one of the last
releases
cases
controversial
decided in
decisions
June
at the end
or
of their
July
term.
2026.
This will likely be
Action
one of the
number
last
3.
cases decided in
KNOW.
June or July
Your state's
2026.
current
LAW if you live
Action
in Hawaii.
number 3.
California. Know your state's
New York,
current law.
New Jersey.
If you live
or
in
Maryland,
Hawaii,
follow
California
current law.
New
until
York,
the Supreme
New
Court
Jersey,
rules.
or Maryland,
Don't
follow
get
current
arrested
law
trying to
until
test
the
the
Supreme
system.
Court rules.
If you live in other states,
don't get
watch
arrested
closely.
trying to test the system.
This decision will affect
if you
how
live
your
in other
state can
states,
regulate
watch
carry.
closely. Action
This
number 4.
decision will affect how
Join
your state
gun
can
rights
regulate carry.
Action number 4.
Organizations
Join
fighting
gun
this
rights
case need
organizations. The organizations
National
fighting
Rifle
this case need
Association
support.
Second Amendment.
National Rifle
Foundation Gun
Association.
Owners of America
Second
Firearms
Amendment Foundation,
Policy
Gun
Coalition,
Owners of America
State
Firearms
Rifle
Policy
Association,
Coalition,
even $10
your
a
State
month
Rifle Association
helps fund these lawsuits.
Even $10 a month
Action.
helps fund these
Hash
lawsuits.
5.
Prepare
Action
for
number
either
5.
OTCO
Prepare
best
for
case.
either outcome best case.
Supreme Court strikes down vampire rule.
Vampire
Default
rule.
becomes carry allowed
Default
unless
becomes
posted. Carry allowed
permits
unless
actually
posted.
work. Worst
Permits
case.
actually work. Supreme Court
Worst
upholds
case.
restrictions.
Supreme
Court upholds
States
restrictions.
can make carry
States
nearly
can make
impossible.
carry nearly impossible.
Gun owners face years
Gun
more
owners
litigation.
face years more
Most
litigation.
likely.
Mixed ruling.
Most likely. Mixed
Some
ruling.
restrictions struck down.
Some restrictions
others struck
upheld.
down. Others
Ongoing
upheld.
battles in lower
Ongoing
courts.
battles in
Wolford
lower
isn't
courts.
the only major gun
Wolford
case
isn't
coming.
the only major gun
Here's
case
what else
coming.
is pending.
Here's
Illinois
what else
assault
is pending.
weapons ban.
Illinois
Seventh
assault
Circuit
weapons
reviewing
ban.
Judge Micklin.
Seventh Circuit reviewing Judge
168-page
Micklin's
striking down
168-page
AR-15
ruling striking
ban.
down AR-15
Could reach Supreme
ban.
Court 2026
Could reach
to
Supreme Court
2027.
2026
Marijuana
to
users
2027.
and firearms.
Marijuana users and
USV.
firearms.
Humani.
USV.
Supreme Court
Humani.
deciding whether regular
Supreme
marijuana
Court
users
deciding whether
legal in
regular
38
marijuana
states
users
can own guns.
legal in 38
Decision
states
June
can own
2026.
guns.
Decision
Magazine
June
capacity
2026.
limits.
Multiple states
Magazine
being capacity
challenged.
limits could
Multiple
reach
states
Supreme
being
Court
challenged.
soon.
Age
Could reach Supreme
restrictions.
Court soon.
18
Age
to
restrictions.
20-year-olds suing
18
for
to
carry
20-year-olds
rights. suing for
Multiple
carry rights.
circuits involved.
Multiple
The
circuits
Supreme
involved.
Court
is building a
The
comprehensive
Supreme Court is
Second
building a
Amendment framework
comprehensive
case by
Second
case.
Amendment framework
Varun
case
was
by
just the
case.
beginning.
Varun was
Wolford
just the
is
beginning.
the next chapter.
Wolford
And
is
each
the
ruling
next
makes
chapter.
it harder for
And
states
each
to
ruling
restrict
makes
gun
it
rights.
harder for
Here's
states
the
to
bottom.
restrict gun
Line.
rights. Here's
January
the bottom line.
20th.
January
2026 is a
20th,
date every gun owner should remember.
2026 is a date
The
every
Supreme
gun
Court
owner
will
should
hear
remember.
arguments that could change
The Supreme
concealed
Court will
carry
hear
laws
arguments
across
that could
America.
change
Concealed carry
if
laws
gun owners
across
win.
America.
The vampire
If gun
rule
owners
dies.
win, The vampire carry permits become real again. Concealed carry permits become real again in Hawaii, New Jersey, California, and Maryland. New York, New Jersey, millions of Americans get their rights back. Millions of Americans get their rights back. If gun owners lose, states can continue making carry impossible through backdoor restrictions. But with the Trump Doge arguing for gun owners, 26 states supporting the challenge, and the Broom proceeding backing us up, the momentum is on our side. And turn on notifications so you don't miss the updates when oral arguments happen and when the decision drops in June 2026. Drop a comment. Do you live in a state with these restrictions? How has it affected your ability to carry? Share this video with every gun owner. Most people have no idea this case is happening. The fight for the Second Amendment continues. And this January, it reaches the highest court in the land. Stay informed. Stay ready. And get ready for changes that could reshape American gun laws forever.